Hey guys, welcome to this video which talks about overproduction. Now this is the hidden bottleneck of making more than is needed, earlier than is needed, or faster than is needed. Now this is part of the Bottleneck Buster training module, so stick around. I'm going to show you exactly where you can find this type of waste and give you examples of this type of waste in lots of different types of industry. So there's going to be something for everybody in this video. Now this is part of the 8 wastes of lean. In the last video I talked about defects, so if you haven't had a chance to watch that, go ahead and take a look at that. In this one we're going to be talking about overproduction. So let's talk about the anatomy of overproduction. So overproduction is producing more than the customer needs before they need it, and it manifests in 6 ways. So we'll see one of the first ones is making excess stock of something. Then we have producing something that's too early. Large batch sizes is a problem, which is very common. Over prepping material, which is doing something to a deliverable that you don't really need to. Creating unused reports or documents. I'm sure we've all had documents or reports that float around our various businesses that people don't read. And lastly, it's generating work that no one asked for. So what does it actually cause? You'll see as something flows through any kind of business, if you start to see overproduction, you're going to start seeing chokes within a process. And you're going to start seeing this in a number of ways. You're going to find some excess inventory where work piles up faster than it flows. You'll start producing more defects because potentially you'll have quality problems hiding underneath piles of overproduced items. You're going to start to see longer lead times because the flow overall starts slowing down. You'll start seeing higher storage costs in the form of warehouses or servers. And then you may see a lot of excess handling as downstream teams start getting overwhelmed by the influx. So you can see that the issues that you start to see with overproduction will start slowing the whole business down and start costing you money. So there is a number of root causes, typically 3 main areas. One is around process issues where large batch sizes start to occur, or you have no kind of pull system. So a pull system is when the step after the one that you're actually working on has some kind of signal that it requires another input. Rather than you just doing lots of things up front and shoving them into the next step of the process, there is a signal all along the process that says, now's the time I need an additional piece of work to complete whatever it is I need to do. That's what a pull system actually looks like. Second is around people and habit issues. The just in case mindset where you overproduce something just in case something happens. That can hide defect issues where you may have things that go wrong occasionally, so you try and overproduce inventory to make sure that doesn't happen. That just hides the root cause of what's going on. And the third one is around system and tool issues where you're going to have no working process limits, the forecasting isn't very good, the customer clarity demand might not be very good, or you're over automating things that are being done rather than actually just making them trigger when they're required. So let's think about how you can spot this type of waste depending on whether you're in a physical or a digital environment. So let's think about inventory first. On a physical environment, it obviously looks like boxes or material or pre-assembled parts started to pile up. But in a virtual environment, this could be lots of open tabs, unread documents, unlaunched code. All of them are telltale signs you're going to have overproduction somewhere. So the visibility obviously is going to be a lot easier if you're in a physical environment because you're going to see boxes or material piled up everywhere. On a digital virtual environment, this may be hidden, buried in cloud drives. So you do need to think about how you can spot some of this stuff in a virtual environment. From a cost perspective, again, physically, you're going to see floor space, handling costs, physical spoilage from things being damaged, those types of things you can start seeing physically. From a virtual environment, it's more around mental load of the people actually working with these documents, server costs, wasted focus hours. If you think you have to search for something on your computers for a long time, that's wasted time. So again, there's telltale signs if you can see certain issues. And in the warning signs, you're going to start to see cluttered shelves, missing items in a physical environment. And then in a digital environment, you're going to see people doing endless scrolling, lots of notifications, stalled projects, all of these you can start to see as a warning sign. So let's have a few examples. So in this one, it's about retail and inventory. So on the left-hand side, we're going to have friction points, what the issues are. And on the right-hand side, we're going to start talking about what we can potentially do to fix this particular issue. So in this one, we're talking about printing too many promotional materials. The cause of the actual issue is the fact that we're just having too many materials just in case something goes wrong or we need them. The impact is that there's waste, there's clutter, and there's high storage costs of all this promotional material. And the bottleneck is that staff waste valuable time sorting, managing, and storing unused material. Now, the fixed blueprint of this could be to create some demand processes around this. So you could have a pull-based printing process that only actually prints what you need for that particular amount of promotion material. And you can implement some visual controls where it looks at visual stock levels. So reordering only happens when something is physically low. So you can see there's two things here. There's introducing a different way that you actually handle the demand. And then secondly, you're looking at what can I put in place as far as visual management that helps me understand when things need to be reordered. This example is more about trades and in workshops. So the overproduction here is cutting or assembling parts well before they're needed for the job. The cause, we have this large batch mentality where we're trying to be efficient by producing way too much. The impact is excess work in progress and then lost items. And in the bottleneck, it actively slows the job down because workspaces are consumed by unfinished early parts. So the fixed blueprint again is around batching, only cut and prep what is required for the immediate next step, and then set work in progress limits that will cap the amount of unfinished work allowed on the floor at any one time. And you can imagine here there is a cost involved here because you're going to start seeing lots of material required in this particular process because people are cutting too much of it. Then we have one around cafe and hospitality. The overproduction is preparing too much food early in the day. The cause is poor demand forecasting. The impact is severe spoilage and wasted labour hours. And the bottleneck is staff spend active service time managing and throwing away excess instead of serving customers. The fixed blueprint is around improving our forecasting, using past data to prep tighter quantities, and then having standardized workflows where we create smaller, rapid prep workflows that can be triggered by demand rather than done entirely in advance. Then we have an online service and agency issue. Our overproduction in this particular example is creating highly detailed proposals or designs before the client actually commits. The cause, we're trying to impress the client early without validated requirements. The impact, wasted hours on unpaid, unconfirmed work. And then the bottleneck is real paying client work waits in line behind unnecessary speculative prep work. So the fix here is to clarify the customer requirements, standardize workflows to only advance when specific client commitments are made, and then produce based on demand, replace heavy upfront design with lightweight validated milestones. And then clinical case 5 is all around SaaS and tech teams. So the friction point here, the overproduction is the building software features that no customer asked for or validated. The cause, the assumptions are leading the development rather than the data. The impact, slow delivery of the features that actually provide value. And in the bottleneck, the entire development and the QA pipeline gets clogged with low value work. So our fix on this case can be build only validated features, implement strict demand pull development, and then set WIP limits, restrict the number of active engineering tasks to force completion before starting new speculative builds. And then this example is the admin and back office where we have an overproduction which is generating reoccurring reports, spreadsheets or documents that no one reads. The cause is habit, legacy processes and unclear expectations. The impact is wasted administrative time and mental fatigue. And then the bottleneck is core administrative capacity is entirely consumed by low value repetitive tasks. Now what we're going to do, we're going to stop creating unused reports. We're going to order all the documents to understand who's using them and then aggressively cull anything that's not. And then we're going to produce on a pull model where we're going to shift to a model where data is pulled by leadership when needed rather than pushed automatically every week. So you can see a theme there with a lot of these issues that we see with overproduction is because we're using very much a push model, where we're just trying to overproduce something before it's actually needed. And what happens there, you get a lot of excess stock and overflowing shelves, or you get too many open tasks or unused reports. And this causes a lot of flow issues where things start slowing down and you start having lots of hidden problems. Now, after a pull system, you get a lot more clearer demand and your production will start to size itself correctly. Now, you do this by controlling the WIP, or the work in progress, to make sure you don't have too much on the go at any one time. And what it actually does is it produces a much faster flow and a way more higher visibility on any bottlenecks that you may have. So this fits into any of our bottle busting methods of finding various issues within your process. So what we would try and do is we implement a 5-step process very quickly. We map out what you produce so that we make it very visible. We'll identify what's unused, so any audit reports, any stock, anywhere there's inventory, we identify it within that map. We'll understand how long things take and what the timing is versus what's actually being demanded. We'll attempt to reduce the batch sizes, or chop up the work to make sure that it flows in a much more efficient way. And then we'll get to a stage where we're only producing what's needed for the next step of the process and trying to, as much as possible, reduce anything being done too soon. So there is a bit of a waste spotters diagnostic checklist for overproduction. So we want to know, are we making more physical or digital items that's currently needed? Are we executing tasks or prepping materials too early in the timeline? Are we creating reports, updates or documents that go unread? Are we building features or deliverables without clarified client validation? Are our physical shelves or digital product folders overflowing? Are our staff simply staying busy instead of creating actual value? Some of these are tangible, you can actually see them. Some of these need more investigating through discussion with various people in your teams. So here's one thing you can do straight away, and I always like to leave videos with these types of advice. So go ahead and pick one process within your business today. Think about what a batch looks like within that process. Is it files? Is it reports? Is it actual physical inventory within that business? Look at the batch sizes and chop them in half. Understand what the impact of that is. Now, from a file perspective, that could literally be stopping doing certain reporting and then understanding who's actually reading that report. Measure the impact and then repeat the process, and you'll start to see real difference in your throughput if you can start to identify one at a time what these types of batches look like. You're going to lower your operational costs, things are going to get faster, you reduce your delays, you get higher throughput, you'll have some kind of sustainable scaling because you'll understand what your throughput should be, and your team will be better focused because they won't be doing all of these other tasks that aren't actually needed. I hope that video was useful. If you want some tools that you can actually use to measure waste within your business, go ahead and hit the link in the description below over to my website. There's some free tools on there. If you found this video useful, hit that subscribe and notification bell, and I'll let you know whenever I produce my next video. Until next time, take care.